Guys, Matt from Toto Drummer here. We're looking at the Rosanna beat. It's Jeff Porcaro on drums. The band is Toto. It's a classic beat, an essential beat. This is probably my favourite halftime shuffle. I don't know what it is, but this has got some real magic to it, and the way Porcaro plays it is incredible. You probably already know this, but we're going to learn it. We've got the sheet music. We're going to break it down bit by bit. We're going to just make it really accessible so anyone can learn this. Let's get started. All right, guys, you're in. We're going to learn Jeff Porcaro's Rosanna groove. It's awesome. It's a halftime shuffle. It's incredible. You need the sheet music first. It's going to really help you. I'm going to go through it in stages here. So get this, go and print it off or get it up on your screen now. Let's go. All right, guys, so we're going to first look at the hi-hat. We're going to break it down. Now, this is a shuffle. It's in 4/4 time. It's quite quick. This is, like, you can see there the tempo, 164 beats per minute. But we're going to go super slow. Now, I'm working on the premise that you already know how to play a shuffle. If you don't, go and grab the shuffle lesson on the website, Blue Shuffle. That goes a bit more into depth about how to just get your head around shuffle rhythms. But just a quick recap, it's based on the triplet subdivision, and we're going 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So we're missing the trip. That's all line 1 is on the hi-hat. Let's check it out so you can get the sound for it. But as I say, if you're not familiar with it, go and do the blues shuffle lesson first, all right? Here we are on the drum kit though. All right, so a key element that makes the halftime shuffle so awesome, and particularly this one, is the use of ghost notes. So if we look at line 2, we can see here, we're positioning a ghost note snare on the trip of every beat. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So this just fills in that gap between the hi-hats. You know, the hi-hats left a gap there. We're going to fill each gap in. In reality, Porcaro doesn't play every single note in the whole song like that. Right, so what we do is we'll learn the rhythm like this, then you've got it all covered, and then you can just add them to taste. Right, so you don't stress. I see a lot of people, they're playing this, they're just trying to force those ghost notes in for every beat. It doesn't actually do that, but we're going to learn it like that, and then you can pull some out and just add them in. It gives it that feel. So, you know, you're going to add them to taste, but we're going to, as I say, we're going to learn it with all of them in. So let's try line 2 slowly, fill in every trip, every gap in with a snare. All right, so looking at line 3, we're going to bring the snares in. This is the full snare pattern now. So we've already done the ghost notes. And the last note we have to add in there, you can see on beat 3, it's the backbeat, it's the heavy snare. Okay, so that's kind of where this beat gets difficult. Because if you just isolate beat 3, you've got a loud snare followed immediately after by the soft snare. That takes some skill, you know. That's a case of going down powerfully, and then the ghost note, down, ghost note. That takes a lot of control. Just at any speed, it takes a lot of control. But then when we're going to bring it up to speed later, and we're going to add the bass drums, I mean, this is a tough beat, right? But we're learning it slowly, so anyone can learn this slowly. You just got to be disciplined enough to go slow. So what I'm going to show you first is just the snare technique for us to play the loud snare followed immediately after by the soft snare. So this is how I suggest you go through this. Go through this process. Don't rush it, because the better you get this little bit, the better the whole beat will sound. People that skip over this bit, they tend not to get a good result on the whole groove, right? So take your time. So we're going to do a loud snare, soft snare. Then I'm going to add the hi-hats in with that. So it's a hi-hat with the loud snare. Then we go soft snare, then a hi-hat on its own. So that's the full, like, beat 3. 3, let. Right, so I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to try the whole line slowly. So let's just check those different stages out on the drum kit, and then honestly just take each stage really slow, stay on each stage until you got, you know, until you're pretty good with it, then move on to the next one. Check it out. Okay, so line 4 next. I mean, you've done the hardest bit, and honestly, you're going to need to work on those hands for a lot of time to really get this good. And believe me, I'm still working on this. I'm nowhere near Porcaro's level for this, but that's good. And by the way, I'm just going to say something on that, because you'll see people covering stuff like this on the internet. You know, everyone piles in and has a dig at everyone. But what I think is important to learn here is just get your expectations right. You're not going to be Jeff Porcaro. I'm not going to be Jeff Porcaro. Quite frankly, I don't want to be, and you shouldn't be. What we're aiming for here is to be the best version of ourselves. So by learning these classic beats and just getting to grips with the mechanics and trying to do it as best we can, we can then take that on and do our own thing with it. Just like Bonham did his own thing with the halftime shuffle, and Porcaro did, and Bernard Purdie did. They all did their own twist. They don't try and sound like someone else. They just took influence and, oh, that thing that he did is cool. Let me borrow that and mix it around and do my own thing. So don't stress. I know it's hard, it's easier said than done, but don't stress about not being as good as Porcaro. You're not going to sound like Porcaro, but that's fine, right? Learn a beat, have fun with it, and see where it takes you. You'll come up with your own version one day. One day we'll be making lessons on how to play your halftime shuffle, right? So don't worry about all that stuff. Anyway, let's look at line 4. We're going to start adding some bass drums. Now this is really a 2-bar phrase. And what he's kind of creating here is, and you can see videos of Porcaro talking about this, he's borrowed those halftime shuffle ideas from the likes of Bonham and Purdie, but he's also taken the Bo Diddley rhythm. Don't want to get too far lost into this, you know, to go down a rabbit hole, but the Bo Diddley was based on the Cuban song clave. It goes 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2. Right, that's the song clave or the Bo Diddley rhythm. He's kind of taken that and put it into this swung context. So it happens over 2 bars. In bar 1, we can see it goes 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4. That's where the basses are. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4. That's not that hard on its own, but when we're putting it with the hi-hats, the ghost note snares, and the backbeat snare, it is really hard. So just absolutely slow this down, take your time. You know, it's going to take a while. You're in this for the long game to get this beat good, trust me. But let's check it out on the drum kit, and then you can start pulling those 3 limbs together. So that's bar 1. Now we're going to do bar 2. Same hand pattern, exact same hand pattern. But now we can see we've got 3 bass drums, kind of weird on its own because you don't play a bass on beat 1. You play it on 1 triplet, and then the next bass drum's on beat 3 with the snare. That feels a bit weird. And then the very last bass drum's on the last note on the let of beat 4. So we're breaking this down and learning 1 bar on its own, but it makes a lot more sense when you put it together, okay? Just, you know, be mindful of that. But let's try it super slow on its own, just that bar. Right, dude, you've actually learnt the whole thing now. You've done it. You've learnt all the elements. So all that's left for us to do really is put those 2 bars together. So in line 4 and 5, we learnt the bass drum patterns for each bar. What we can see at the end is the full pattern. It's all there together. So there's nothing new to learn. It's just that act of bringing it together as a pattern. It sounds cool, right? But it's going to sound quite weird. Especially, I actually struggle to play this quite slow because I know it faster. But it is hard when you really break it down and have to analyse it and play it slow. It's actually quite tricky. I really struggle just to do that. So that's going to take some time. And then just each stage, as you're speeding it up, don't rush through that, because if you, for example, if the ghost notes become loud, this sounds terrible. If it stops swinging, if it straightens out a bit, it sounds stiff. So as you get better at it, just gradually bring it up so that you keep the quality. It's really, really important. Don't try and rush that in goal. We're trying to keep the finesse and just that that thing that Porcaro has, that amazing touch. Let's try and get as close to that as possible. Check out the full pattern. All right guys, so that's Rosanna, that's the beat. One of my favourite beats in the world, probably my favourite halftime shuffle. It's such an awesome beat. Now I just want to say, just go slow at each stage. You may never feel like you've quite got this. That's how I feel anyway, never quite happy with how I'm playing this. But learn the beat. I've had to play halftime shuffles loads before, and just having that in your back pocket means you can bring it out if you need to. If you enjoyed this, go and check out. There's two particular lessons I want you to check out. Fall in the Rain, John Bonham. If you haven't done that already, go and learn that. And Home at Last by Bernard Purdie. It's a Steely Dan tune. They use the same thing. It's the halftime shuffle. They've just got their own little twists on the groove. So you've done most of the hard work. Go and learn those as well. And they're going to be a bit easier now because you're kind of most of the way there. All right. But for now, get going with Rosanna. Gradually build the speed up. And it's going to be awesome. I'll see you in the next lesson.